Breaking Barriers.
I want to welcome you to another episode of Breaking Barriers podcast. I am honored to have Chris Fountain with me today. We had a fun surprise for him the other week at the Johnson County Fair in Iowa City, Iowa, and dug a old hot rod of his out of the archives. It's about a 2-year restoration project. Chris Fountain also was the owner of Fountain Transmission in Iowa City and built a lot of transmissions for a lot of the, we called them hot rods back in the day, modifieds today, and finally retired here, has driven and built and pulled a lot of different pulling vehicles over the years. So Chris, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
It's an honor, yes.
Visiting a little bit before we got started, we should have probably been recording that whole thing, and we'll try to recover some of that, might get you to say some of the stories over, but what was the beginning of your getting into tractor pulling?
Well, we grew up on a farm, and my dad, I like racing and hot rod stuff, so my dad said me and my brother, we could do anything we wanted, but we couldn't do a contact sport for racing. We had to do one at a time, so tractor pulling was right into the game.
Right.
So that's what we did. But my dad pulled old antique tractors, and I got into hot rods.
Okay. So at a pretty young age, you started in 14.
Yeah.
And then pulled up for what, 20 years?
Up to 77 for sure.
Okay.
Right in there.
So let's talk a little bit about the one behind us. We'll probably jump around a little bit. So Diggum here, you built this one from scratch.
Yep.
And it wasn't your first one though, was it?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
What'd you start with when you started building them?
I started with an Alice Chalmers with an old Hammy in it, and had a fluid drive coupler in it, and I went to the fair to pull, and hooked on a sled and wouldn't even pull anything.
Oh, really?
No, so that's where I first started. Then I went to Massey Harris tractors because they had an open rear end to put a drive shaft into it. So went to those and did good with those, and then worked my way up to this, and then went to a John Deere skidder. And
okay, so you went with which I think that's basically a component chassis, what they're talking about today.
Yep.
A lot of people ran the Massey rear ends, and it was just for that, because it was easy to connect
the Oliver and the Massey had a U-joiner come out the front.
Okay.
So it was easy to hook up. You run the double chain, double sprocket, and it worked super.
Yeah.
So if you're a little off, you're okay. So,
yeah. Weren't so precise on the engineering.
Right. Yeah.
When you built this tractor, like I see the frames arched and some of that, did you do all that, or
No.
what was just to talk about this one a little bit?
This one we just made, I don't know why it marched, but we just bought the steel and put it together. I don't.
Do you think it just bent over time?
Might have been a little bit over time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of crude made, but we made it back in 74, so.
So you're probably doing it with stick welders?
Stick welder.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, and then the motor on it was a Chevy big block?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then, but you ran, and what'd you do to the motor?
I had a 427 with aluminum heads, and then it had a blower on it too.
Right. And then you ran alcohol?
Ran alcohol.
Okay.
Yep.
But it wasn't the hottest one you had?
No. No, it wasn't, but pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting thing too is all the safety features. I know you have seen a lot of change, and clearly you were at the tractor pull the other night when we presented this to you, and when that just so the audience knows, when that tractor came, did you even know this thing existed anymore?
No.
Okay.
I had no idea. I mean, it was long gone. I figured it was all
cut up and
gone.
So the look on your face was absolutely amazing. I've never seen you speechless like that. Your eyes were big, your mouth was open. You were like, what the heck?
What the hell? We're back in time. Here we
come. You kept saying, you're like, what is this? What is this?
Yes.
And I thought, I was like, you recognize this thing?
Yeah, I recognize it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you started with the Masseys, were you still running gas motors and Hemis primarily?
No, I was running small block Chevys.
Okay.
With tunnel ram.
Okay.
Back then, but then you needed more torque, so you had to get the bigger block, bigger motors.
And then what was you were running weight classes
5 and 7.
5 and 7,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So you're throwing quite a bit of weight back in those
lot of
days. Yeah.
That got old too.
Yeah.
But,
seemed to be that was the theme in those days. Today, of course, you pretty much run one pass and you shut it
Right.
down. If you got to come back around, you're upset because you might burn a motor down.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a little different than what it was. What was there an advantage that you seen? Because I also seen guys talk a lot about running the I think it was the F20 rear ends, and then Montgomery Wards. Some of them ran those. Was there a reason you went with an Oliver?
Oh, not really. I mean, I would have gone with the Massey too, but and the F20 or F30, the F20 and F12 was pretty light duty in
Were
the rear
they?
end, but the F30 was a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was real good, but
Okay.
they were hard to find.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
What was the horsepower? Do you have any idea what you were running for power back then?
no, with the blower, I'd probably say 700 probably.
Okay.
Compared to nowadays, you can get 12, 1500 in one. So.
Yeah, changes a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, it's gotten to a real money game.
And the tires have changed so much
Right.
too. And that means a lot.
So the other thing that you, I think, made the transition in was, so this is like a high chassis. You eventually got into the
Went to
lower
low.
ones.
Yep.
Did
and
that-
wedged down.
Yeah.
So to pick up the front end was harder to pick
Right.
up. So
How could you tell a big difference on performance?
yeah,
Okay.
a lot difference. Yeah.
So you were already working on the technology
Right,
of
'cause
that.
You're already level and you're going to go over level, where this was under and you'd have to pick up,
Right.
So.
Just the whole leverage principle.
Right. Yep.
You guys built all of this yourself?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you get into, and I mentioned that you owned Fountain Transmission. When did you get in? Let's talk a little bit about your mechanical history. What was your
Okay.
progression off the farm into being a mechanic and eventually opening Fountain Transmission?
Well, my dad said there's 4 of us, and he said the farm isn't going to feed 4 families. He
Right.
said all you kids got to go to town and get a job. So I went to work for Amco Transmission. First, I went to work for a Breeze company in Iowa City
Yep.
for machine work, and then I went to Amco Transmission. I started playing with trannies, and said, well, that's when I got into tractors and
Right.
started building them for the tractor pullers.
Okay.
So, and that, I was a good business. I mean, I had a lot of followers
Right.
for that
So-
back in the day, but you can't now.
So, you mean the transmission business is?
Well, the transmission business for the tractors,
Oh.
too much horsepower.
Right.
So,
And that's kind of where I was going with it. So you were running, like this transmission, what is this
that's
exactly?
a turbo 400 transmission.
Okay.
It's got straight cut gears in it, and then it's a reverse valve body, so you shift it manually,
Okay.
and then you put a stall converter in it. So,
You can get the RPMs up on
yep,
it.
get out of the hole.
Was that's kind of what you built all along for these guys?
I built a lot of them for the guys, yeah.
So-
And yeah,
Well-
I did a lot.
What are some of the names you built some for?
Bob Chickering,
Yes.
he had a Hammy Ford, and we built a C6 for him.
Okay.
And John Strothman built a Ford for him. And Jerry Fornash, Chevys.
Yep. He had multiple motors on his then
Yes.
eventually. And it was still these
Then he went to the Allison.
Yes, but did these transmissions hold up for that?
Yeah, for 2 motors they would.
Oh, really? Okay.
But back then we never had the big high horsepower.
Right.
So Bobby Gooden did his.
Right.
And I'm trying to think, there's a lot of them. Emo Murda.
Yes.
Now
He was a character.
was
I hear
a
a lot of
character.
stories about Emo Murda.
Yep.
We lost him, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'd love to get his wife on and talk about some of those. But
yeah, he was quite a character.
yeah. Those guys pretty much ran automatic transmissions like this.
The hot rods did.
All the way through.
Right.
Jerry Fornash, did you ever do anything for him?
Yes.
Okay, did his too.
You can shift up where a stick you can't.
Right.
Shift. So that's what made the automatics in the tractors. And then the profab stuff came out.
Right. Right, and that kind of changed everything. And their RPM ranges changed enough they could usually kind of control it off of that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How many states did you just locally do it more local in the state of Iowa?
Nebraska, a lot of Nebraska guys come over.
Okay.
And Iowa and Illinois.
Okay.
So
more Midwest here.
Yeah, more Midwest. Yep.
And when you pulled, what associations were you pulling with?
I was with Iowa Association.
Okay.
But they never had. I never did NTPA back then.
Okay.
I might have pulled a couple times, but I never
joined them. And
no, I had to work. I couldn't go all the time. That was the problem.
So were you building what, half a dozen, 10 a year?
Oh no, I was building probably 50 a year.
Oh gosh.
Around the country, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea you built that many. And then they'd go through them every year and have you freshen them up.
And then the trucks started coming, and we got into those too.
Okay.
So
was that a similar setup as what this was?
Yeah, but the truck's got a lot of horsepower there now.
Yeah. So. I think a lot of those, there may be some still trying to run some automatics, but they're pretty much, they're starting to go to profab transmissions too, and it's just crazy on the RPMs and how you, with the clutches that they use now, they can kind of get around all that. But
4-disc and 5-disc, that's a lot of difference nowadays.
So you were telling us before we started, you pulled a farm tractor. It was an Alice Chalmers, right, at 14 years old. How many years did it take till you actually put a V8 in one and started?
Probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
My dad I couldn't drive. I never had a driver's license, so I couldn't drive. So we had an old truck, and it wasn't long enough to haul the tractor, so we put planks on it and backed the tractor on it. The front wheels stood over the front. But yeah, that was the old days. And
You're saying you backed the tractor onto the truck, and the wheels would stay on the ground?
No, they'd stay on the 2x4s or 2x12s.
Oh, that were out the back.
Out the back. Yeah. And then when I was able to drive, that's when I put the V8 in. For a while I was driving. I drove the hot rod tractor to West Liberty, and I drove it to Solon.
Really?
I drove it to Poland and drove it home.
So it had a radiator in it, and so you could run it down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard stories of guys doing that. Yeah, driving them places. And then you probably did some of the same things. They would scale them at like a local feed store. And
Yep, we had to go down to the feed store. We won quite a few polls, and at Wyoming, Iowa, I polled, and they wouldn't let me get off the tractor. I won it by a lot, and they pulled me right down to the feed scales.
Oh, really?
Weighed with me on, we were legal, so laugh was on them.
So what was your pulling history? You were successful, as I recall.
Yeah, and I think the best deal I met a lot of friends and a lot of pullers.
Right.
And they all came to me, and we had a good time.
Right.
It was a really good time.
What were some of the stories, that just fun stuff that happened with a lot of those guys?
I don't know. Well, Mother Betty Fornish, she'd bring a great big tub of potato salad. And we'd eat potato salad and after the poll. But we went a lot of places together at night, and travel at night, like midnight, 2 a.m, getting home, and nobody had a problem. It's just
everybody traveled together. And
exactly. Yeah. But we had some good times. Yeah, good stories.
Yeah. So, and I've heard that from others, that you guys kind of traveled as a band of gypsies almost, and you had you would travel together, and if there was a problem, you'd stop and help out and keep moving.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Betty, you called her Mother Betty. I mean, that was kind of, she kind of carried that.
She took care of
everybody.
Well, I was the youngest puller, and they called me the young punk kid. So she'd take care of all of us. And of course, Ron Hadley was running at the time too. So
how did your name get out in the transmission world? I mean, was it because you were doing it for yourself and they started to see what you were doing and they were struggling? But what happened with all that?
AMCO, I worked for AMCO in Iowa City. And AMCO, I actually bought AMCO out. and put two fountain transmissions in Iowa City.
Oh,
So I got a little following from them, but then they all started coming for performance stuff. Nobody in town would do performance
right.
stuff. So that's when I got into it. And anyway, we sold the one transmission shop and then just built on out there by Highway 1. And
right.
And funny story, John Strothman was coming to a pole and he had the truck that he was hauling the tractor on. See how'd that work? The transmission went out of it. It was in the middle of the night and we didn't have cell phones. So John unloaded his tractor and drove it to the shop. And for the next day, I was there. We did the tranny in the truck. So that was one of the funny stories. I said, well, how do you get here? He drove
the tractor in and let the truck sit out there.
Yeah.
So another story you were telling me, and we talk. People like to hear a lot of times about the safety features and the progression of that and accidents. I know on this machine here, you've got like a box right back here that's built over like the drive shaft and that. And you said that broke once.
Yes, I welded it together myself, and then I ground it down the weld too far, and it was weak. So I was at Solon and pulling, and I blew a U-joint there and blew the box off, and the drive shaft went out over the crowd and went right through a empty baby buggy. So
oh my gosh.
That scared the heck out of me. So I went over to the people and said, I need to buy you a new baby buggy. And she said, nope, you just go have fun. So
oh my goodness.
It was pretty scary time back then. But
yeah.
But
well, and that's and you didn't get hurt through that?
No.
It was it's amazing the safety features we put into place, but we're still adding them year to year.
Right.
I mean, now a lot of it's around turbos and things.
And that's about the only thing we had for safety.
Right.
Just the drive shaft coupler.
Right.
No fenders, no.
Well, even your seat didn't have any sides on it.
No sides, no.
We've got there's a blanket on this one, I guess, for effect, but you would have not had a transmission blanket.
Right.
You would have, you had mentioned too, I think, that you did some clutch work for some people.
Yes, I have a machine at the shop, and we did a lot of clutch work for Lee Ayward. He was a super stock.
Right, out of Missouri. Yep.
Out of Missouri. We didn't do so much for tractors. We did a lot of multi-discs for the hot rods.
Okay.
But Lee Ayward was one of my pullers. I was a good friend of John Klug and Craig Schlaubaugh.
Right.
So
did some things.
We did some things for them, but not much for him.
Right. And today the tractor's got the same like slipper and pedal clutches and things that
double disc, 4 disc, 5 disc.
Yeah. So they're doing a lot of things there to hold them.
I look for them down the road to have solenoids on them like drag cars and just push the button. I mean, automatically.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I get asked about that numerous times if we're doing any of that yet. And, but I think it'll probably depend on the alcohol trucks and things because I could see that happen first. The diesel, you might have a little bit wider power band yet, but it's coming, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of safety things came.
Yeah.
A fire suit, a helmet, fenders, all that.
What were some of the accidents you would have seen over the years?
I have Lee Ayward. Lee Ayward.
Well,
no, not Lee Ayward. Lester Hinson.
Yes.
Was in Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids at the fair. We were up there pulling, and his seat broke, and we didn't have any fenders, and went down through the wheel and got killed. And then Doug Ham was up there. That's back when we had narrow front end tractors. And Doug Ham came out of the hole and got it up in the air and had the wheels cocked. And when it came down, it rolled, and he came out from underneath it. He's a very lucky man.
That was
very lucky.
Scary experience. I think that was when the wide fronts came in.
The wide front ends, yes.
And I think then when Lester Henson got killed, wasn't that when the fenders and things started to come along and just start building safety features?
Right. And then the roll bar came later on too.
Yeah. And now the 6-point harness.
And your skid plate underneath the front. That's
Because
a
if you
lot of
break
safety.
it just doesn't double up and pull
Well,
the
you're-
tractor over.
You're spinning the tires 100 mile an hour and they get a hold, so
Yeah, it's
you're-
a little
you're
different.
you're moving down the track pretty fast.
You know, you were at a tractor pull here just the other night, and you go back to where it was at back in the day. I mean, you've got a different perspective. You're involved in it. I mean, do you think it's lost some of its luster, or?
I don't think so. I think it's coming on stronger.
Okay.
I mean, the other night we were at the 4-H grounds in Iowa City, and the crowd was unbelievable.
Right.
And the tractors were unbelievable. We had a lot of tractors, a lot of nice pullers, and a very good track. The track and skids have come a long ways. Long ways.
No, it makes a big difference on that. There's varied opinions. A lot of the older folks, you know, and I can recall my first pull was one of those where it was farm tractors and you stepped on a drag. And
Right.
like,
I did. I was pulling back then.
Yeah. And so those were, you know, and I look back, I mean, I think this has more shock value for the crowd. But as a farm kid, which we had a lot more farm kids back then, they enjoyed and understood what all that was. Today, there's not as many of those, and I think it's you kind of got to change with all that. So,
Right.
The clutch work you did back then, what were you guys using for clutches? Like when you were working for Lee Elward and some of those?
We had a 14-inch flywheel steel.
Yep.
And then we used paddle clutches.
Right.
Paddles. And I got those from Sadler Powertrain. Cedar Rapids got me a lot of them.
Okay.
Discs. And then also over in Illinois, Russ.
Darren Roush.
No.
Rush.
Rush. He sells Crowler glides.
Yeah, that would be Darren Roush, I believe is his
Roush?
name. Right.
Okay.
Roush or Rush.
Yeah,
something
Rush.
like
Rush,
that. Rush. Yeah. He still does.
Yeah.
Sells a lot of Crowler
We're
clutches.
getting a lot of those. And back then we were just using 2 discs, and now they're 3 and 4 and 5, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Depends on how large diameter they can go. So you guys were already using steel flywheels back then?
back then.
Okay. What happened? I mean, did you see any accidents coming from the
I saw
cast?
one in Davenport, Iowa. Ron Warskow had I can't remember if it was 706 or what it was, international, and it blew it in half.
Because it exploded
the clutch.
Wow.
And not very much safety equipment back then. But
it split the tractor.
it split the tractor.
Wow.
Yeah. But then in Louisville, Kentucky, McManus, he had an explosion in the clutch, but he had the safety clutch and it still come apart.
Really?
But there's been a lot of accidents, but
Nobody's
It's
been
not-
too bad. Yeah.
No, it's not
There's
been.
you haven't seen
Not
anybody
many.
other than, well, Lester Henson
yes,
situation, but
yes,
you know,
that's about
that's really part of motorsports in general. We see
mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if it's cars, motorcycles,
Right.
you know, it's just some of the thrill of the adrenaline sometimes steps up and gets us, and
Mhm.
that's just how it is. Most of these
Mhm.
folks are having fun doing what they're doing. If you would do it over, what's something you do different?
Oh, I'd have to have a lot more money, but I'd still go to a motor.
Motor, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up with 2 motors when I quit, and I'd like to have 3 or 4.
Okay.
But it's changed a lot. I mean, I think Tim Engler brought a lot to the sport
Right.
on gearboxes and how to put the motors
Right.
in and
So when you were doing 2 motors, and that was a modified,
right.
and so when you did, and that modified, if I recall, started as a single engine.
Right.
Then you added another. How did you connect the drivetrain?
We
on that?
used a Linko coupler. It's just a coupler off the crank and off the back of the block on the front one.
And then just dropped it
Dropped
down
them.
underneath and brought it back up? Or?
Nope, just straight in line.
Oh,
2 motors in line.
and you just connect it
The
from
crankshaft to the
front of the crank to the back of the crank?
right.
Really?
That's all we did. Yep. And to start it, when you started them, you had to leave the kill switch shut off, get it spinning, and hit them up, because you can't just start one. You got to
Right.
both go. So yeah, a lot of changes And
Interesting. Yeah, Tim Engler built the Gearboxes now,
Right.
and one of the most amazing things, of course, I had Billy Giberson, if you knew him or not, on, and he worked with Tim early on, and of course, Tim does tremendous amount of performance work now, and race cars and everything, valve train, you name it. But they were the first that were getting those Gearboxes, and I know he ended up with 7. 5 in line, and then 2 hanging in on the side yet.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was an engineering feat back in the day
Yeah.
for all that. When you were when you were building these transmissions, getting straight gears and doing all of that, were you making that stuff?
No.
You were buying it. You were able to get
buying the straight gears, yeah.
Okay.
But I still did a few things inside the tranny I don't want to tell to this day, but to do. But you learn.
Right. That's something that I find interesting with anybody in performance. You're not the first one I've had on that once the show's done, they're like, we're still not telling you, you know.
Right.
But it's interesting because it's, you know, as long as you're competing, you don't want to really give away secrets.
But I learned a lot from the pullers also, because when they did break them, I'd tear them apart and see what broke and make it stronger as we went along. Emo Murdo was my test man for a long time.
Well, he was kind of a wild man, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Would he go through multiples in a year?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And it didn't matter to him. He just wanted to pull.
So did he try to keep spares on hand, or are you pretty much building them as...
we'd give him an extra one, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then one of the times when Lanny Kai was pulling, he had Huff and Puff. That was the name of his tractor.
Yes.
And he blew a motor, and I had to work. So I said, well, I got an extra 427 for you, and just come use it. So he came and got it. So we could go to the next pull next day. But yeah, that's how that was back then. You just give it to them, let them go. But
so you've got secrets inside the transmission. Here's a piece that I think might be different than it was today. When I interview a lot of you guys were basically just like this. You were just engineering everything and trying to think, well, this might help, it might not. You weren't dynoing it. You were just building it. And people would see it, and sometimes they'd just tell each other. And was that pretty common to give secrets like that away, or were you already at that point starting to try to hide things? And
no, I was running with Doug Meehee back then, and we kind of worked together and figured stuff out. But yeah, everything we did back then you had to make, because you couldn't buy headers for a tractor. You couldn't buy, you know, stuff like that. So we learned as we went. But then when you go to the pull and you go look at their tractors, and if they're covered up, you know there's something new. But, like you guys, you got sides on for one reason too. But
you know, I mean, I guess I can say it on here. It doesn't matter, but we don't open that hood if at all possible ever.
Right.
I mean,
true.
It happens in the shop, but we try to keep that down and protect.
You've got your own secrets. And
yeah, you do, and it's everybody does, and they should. And interestingly enough, some things are universal and will make a difference for everyone. Other things, the way your setup is, it works for you, and it won't necessarily help the next guy, and they'd have to try to. And even then, I see people today that'll try to build, you know, maybe 2 tractors, 2 hot rods identical, so that they can learn from one to the next, and they'll always tell me that the one performs better than the other one, and they don't know why. It just does. The motor's stronger. Sometimes, and you know this from over the years, but you can build 2 motors, and one just seems to run better.
A little bit more.
It just happens that way. So what did Doug ran a modified too all the time as well? And did he continue pulling after you quit?
No, I think he quit before me.
Okay.
But I bought one of his tractors years ago. It was a Farmwell F20.
Okay.
Bodacious. I bought it, and
oh, you had that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when he went to the wedge type frame also.
Right.
So.
And that's when you went to wedge type, and you converted the F20 to a...
No,
you
I
still
switched
just
over.
Switched over after that.
Yeah, I went with a John Deere skidder rear end.
Right.
And just made the frame from there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, what'd you have to do to that? Narrow it up? Cut the axles? Or
no, we just had different wheels
set it in, get the offset.
Right, but you had to get different ring and pinion because Skeeter rear ends had 24-1, 26-1
right
ratios. So you had to get the right one, and they were also pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So
had all your weight in the rear end there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What got you to the point of quitting?
Well, girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
She wanted a house, and it's time to build a house. I figured, well, I got to keep pulling. Am I going to keep pulling or what? So I had a chance to sell it. So I sold it to a friend of mine, Scott McAllister out of Mount Pleasant, and he said, "You go ahead and drive it for 2 years." So I drove it. He did all the maintenance, paid for the bills, and that was the best job I ever had. But then after I quit, I actually got into racing stock cars, and because they were running power glides, so I had to build power glides. So I got moved on.
Right.
But yeah, it's now I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back to a mini rod also too.
Right. But that's getting popular again.
Yeah,
that's and they're all the little wedge frame.
Right.
I know at the time they were doing some that would put like little tractor hoods on them and make them look like a tractor, but that's gone because they're all the low ones now. But those things are a wild ride.
Right.
You did drive a mini rod at one time,
yes,
right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I drove one out of Mount Pleasant, and the guy that built it, he built it to run both classes. Well, the lighter class, he was too heavy on the scale, so he wanted to know if I wanted to drive it for the year, so I drove it for the year with him.
Okay.
So I drove the light class, and he drove the heavy class. And we had a good time. We did good. We ended up state fair. We won that. And then we won a lot of local pulls.
Okay.
So that was a good time.
Right. What was the tire progression for you in the beginning? You were just running ag tires with lugs on them, like what's
we started with 24.5s.
Okay.
And what we really wanted is everybody wanted the Montgomery Ward's tire because of the design of the tread.
Okay.
But they were hard to find. So anyway, we went to the 30. Well, we had the 45 degree
right
tires, and they were 24.5s, and then we went to the 30 points.
Okay.
But then the big ones, then we had to hand cut the lugs and then grind them. But nowadays they have machines for all that stuff.
Yeah,
and you got pulling tires and
we buy. I mean, they're all manufactured. There's still just a couple classes that are still running an ag tire, and then they're doing like a double cut, and you can kind of see it how it rounds off, in between where the lug's at. But there's certain reasons they do it. Some of it's weight. Some of those ag tires had a harder compound, and they stay really. They just don't wear like some of the others do. But overall,
like our tires, if you could find a set of old used ones, you get them and just put them outside the machine shed for a year for the hot sun and cold, and get them hard.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, they've got different processes now to try to harden them as well. But the mini rod, that was after you sold your 2-engine modified?
No, I had it. I still had it too.
Okay.
So I was doing.
So you were a hired gun.
Yeah, that was fun. Fun, yeah.
When you quit pulling, though, you continued to build transmissions for years and years, right?
Yes.
So an interesting story, and I'm going to share it on here, and I know if anybody was at the Fairgrounds the other night, they heard it, but you have sold your business and retired here a couple of years back. And Dan Hutchins, who restored this tractor, found it up in Minnesota, and needed a transmission to put in it. Called you one day, which you had worked with him before,
right?
And he was just relaying the story to me that he asked, you had asked him, how do you want it built, and what do you want?
Right.
And his statement was, just build it like you would for yourself.
Right.
And little did you know at that point in time, it was actually going back into one of your old tractors.
No idea. Yeah. No idea at all.
In fact, he took the caution of not even going to pick it up himself because he didn't want you to question him about what he was doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And he said I had to be careful who I sent because I didn't want somebody that had too much knowledge about anything to spill anything. So he did that whole thing. And it's just really cool because I think it got picked up the day before your last day. And so technically,
Yeah,
I think it's the last transmission you probably built. I'm
Probably.
sure for a hot rod, it wouldn't have been anything. You might have built some others, but even in the transmission world, you've seen business back. I don't mean you started in the 70s in the transmission business.
75.
75, and to where it is today, just even from a consumer point of view, were you still rebuilding a lot of them, or is it where you're doing a lot of rebuilds yourself? I mean, buying remans? And...
We were doing a lot of building still, but then as it progressed, the 5 speeds, 6 speeds, 7, 8, 9, and 10 speeds in the diesel pickups, for instance, a lot of those we used box trannies, from the dealer, put them in. But I pretty much learned by myself by taking them apart and putting them together.
Right.
But you couldn't keep up. Plus, then you have to have a computer to set it. So a lot of make a difference. So when I got out, it was just getting into the 10 speeds.
Okay.
So now it's that's all it is pretty much. Computerized and shifts and chips to put in them, and you can do a lot of different things.
So you just pretty much self-taught on transmissions.
Yep.
Did a lot of manual stuff though too, didn't you?
A lot of manuals, yeah. Yeah, but now I don't think you can buy a manual from the dealer anymore.
No, I don't think so either. That's kind of going south. I mean,
the automatics, they got a paddle shift, so you can put them in low and manual and just paddle them up just like a stick.
The biggest thing you heard, our joke always was when we were young was, well, you got like a slush box because the automatics took power away. You wanted your manual transmission. Do you feel like they're a lot more efficient than what they were?
Yes. The torque converters, you can put the small speed wherever you want for the torque converters. Back in the day when they had the old power glides and stuff, that's why they called the slush box. They just one speed and it slipped, but now there's more direct drive. They're just unbelievable.
It's a borderline, probably almost a power shift, more or less, rather than a.
And there's so many aftermarket parts for these trannies. It's unbelievable. But you'll pay for it. It's a lot of expense.
Yes, for sure. The trucks, when you got into pulling trucks, that was all gas. It wasn't diesel yet at that point, right?
Nope, just gas.
So you didn't build much for transmissions on the trucks then?
Yeah, we did for gassers.
Well, the gassers, but not for the diesel stuff then.
Not for the diesels.
And they were running the same style transmissions basically that you're doing here. You'd manually shift the automatic and do all of that.
Yep.
Have any idea how many transmissions you built over the years?
From start to finish, no. I really don't. Probably 25,000, someplace in there or more.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty crazy.
It's been a lot. Right.
So,
yeah.
The connection, so you pulled ITPA a lot as well. And then NTPA, you didn't quite as much, you said.
Right, because I was busy working.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to
young man and and it was really common back then for a lot of the farmers to be pulling, and they could do it more in the summer and get around their busy season.
Back then, there was a pull about every night. You could go to Solon, you go to West Liberty, Kelowna.
Right.
Just one night after next, and I had to work. So
so that didn't happen.
No.
Let's name off, what are some of the big pulls you went to, though? Like you mentioned the State Fair. Was that pretty common that you went up there?
Yeah, I went to State Fair all the time.
Okay.
For the fair pull. And then I went to Hilton indoor pull at Hilton Coliseum.
How'd you do there?
I got second there.
And what were you pulling?
I was pulling a single engine blown Rhode Akron.
Okay.
Skidder rear end.
Yep.
And
that was the last one you built?
Yeah, with one motor, and I put two in it.
Yep. Okay.
Right. So, yeah.
Hilton.
Hilton the indoor, and let's see, Louisville, Kentucky, went there.
Okay. With that same hot rod?
No, a different one.
Okay.
But we went down there with a truck also, but that was the Farm Machinery Show in February.
Yes.
That's
still a big
indoors,
deal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's still a real big deal.
Then I was invited to the Cow Palace in California, but I didn't have enough money to get out there and back years ago. So had it all in the tractor and no gas.
Right. Well, that's probably the way it still works.
Long haul, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long way out there. How did they get a hold of you?
I got second at at Hilton Coliseum, and I don't know how they contacted me, but
Right.
so I was happy about that. Then I won the state fair that year too. So,
In Des
in Des Moines.
Yeah. So how many times were you up at the state fair?
Oh God, probably 25 times in my career,
Okay.
probably at least.
Yeah. And pulled,
Hot rod all
how
the
many
way
did you
time.
win up there?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose that 5 or 6 is about all.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty
But
good average going up there that
That's
often,
when
though.
that's when everybody goes up. That was
Yeah.
the Big Daddy for the
For the
year.
state.
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
And that's changed a lot.
has.
By the time you stopped pulling, was the ITPA kind of declining at that point?
It was slowing down. A lot of
Yeah.
the pullers were going,
Right.
deceased, and a lot of these new kids. That's when started with cell phones, computers,
Right.
and I still think it'll come back.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the one thing that was what I recall, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this because you've seen the whole progression. It seemed like in the 80s, when farm economy got tough, tractor pulling really took a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, it affected, like you mentioned, all these small towns that had tractor pulls. A lot of
Right.
those stopped.
Yep,
And it was
and
just
the
people,
fairs
there
and-
wasn't money there.
Right.
And there's places that I know now that they're reaching out and trying to figure out how to get a tractor pull back to that fairgrounds. And they hadn't had one in 10 or 15 years. And they're trying to finally get it back. So I think the sport in general is gaining a lot
It's coming.
of notoriety again. A lot of that, you had mentioned cell phones and computers. It's relatively new. Even a show like this is building a lot of awareness. And I'm all focused on the history of the sport. But there's other channels out there that you can live stream now.
Right.
You can actually get a pay-per-view and watch them. Well, YouTube has changed a lot of things.
Right.
So as we were talking, a lot of stuff's out there, but then there's other channels that we share information back and forth and promote each other. And if it wasn't for some of that, I would have never gained traction with this channel as much either. But it definitely helps promote the sport. And these kids walk around with phones, and they're flipping through them all the time so
Right.
they can see it. And I would agree that it's picking up a lot of popularity. Even dirt track racing had really slowed down for a period of time. I think it's back about as strong as ever. Sprint cars are doing well. So a lot of performance motorsports are doing well in general.
Yes.
But if you would be telling a young person today, and they want to get into something like this, and I think the mind block that I see is a lot of times they just think they can't do it.
Right.
And from a cost perspective, there's ways to get into it that are somewhat inexpensive, and I know that's probably what you did. I mean, you just found something that fit for you, and we all have budgets because even what I'm doing with mine, I know where my budget's at.
Right.
There's others that are spending 3 and 4 times.
Yeah. Right.
So
That's right. Yeah, it's a fun sport. You meet a lot of people. I mean, a lot of farmers, friends. I could probably go pretty much around the United States and run into a farm puller.
yeah.
And I know I'm a good friend of Wayne Sullivan down in
Oh, are you
Kentucky.
really?
Yes.
Did you build things for them?
No.
Okay.
Nope. We met him years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
And they're still going strong.
They're still going strong.
Yeah.
And he's into multimotors now
Yeah,
too. So.
he sure is. He's got.
But if you wanted to start, I mean, a young fella can start in a decent class and a smaller class and work his way up like I did. It's very sporty. It's fun. It's good,
right.
good, clean fun. So.
Well, I think you just hit on something too. One of the things that I see is the friendships that are developed, and it's just incredible. You talked a little bit. I want to touch on that about how you would tell somebody, "Well, just come get my motor or do this."
Right.
Even last winter, I'm down in Cloverdale and I pop a turbo. I think I had 2 guys that I'd never met before come up to me and say, "Hey, we got a spare in the truck if you want it." And so. That still is out there
Right.
with the equipment we use to transport. People don't
Right.
travel together quite like they did. But, there's still a lot of good camaraderie going around all that. And I don't know. Tractor pullers, from what I see, tend to, for the most part, get along pretty well. I know racing, sometimes there's a little bit, a little higher
Right.
tempers, but that's more of a contact sport, so I think
Right.
that's what drives that. But
I think tractor pulling come a long ways with the skid,
Okay.
self-propelled skids, so you can get them back and keep the show going. Back then it was you'd have to wait for the next puller and it'd get boring, and all of a sudden it's 4 or 5 hours. Well, now they just did Farley the other night, 120 hooks, and there was probably 3.5 hours done.
yes. So the goal pretty much is to do a 3-hour show.
Right.
And if they had 120 hooks, they had 2 tracks.
2 tracks.
The other thing that's
I mean,
interesting
good show.
at a show like that, they will they usually have a backup sled,
Right.
and it costs money to do it,
Right,
but
it does.
you got to keep the show going,
Yep.
and you can't just sit down for an hour and fix
Right.
it.
Right.
It also lends to our society. Things move quicker, and
Right.
back in the day, we had nowhere else to go and
Right.
anything else to do, so we were there, and you just hung out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, there's still a lot of interest, even if it gets into local pulling and pulling a farm tractor. There's ways to get to it now,
Right.
and try to get into some of that.
Mm-hmm.
When you started doing a lot of your mechanic work, were you always mechanical on the farm and welding, and were you the one that was kind of the repairman on the farm? And
Pretty much. We had a hired man that did a lot of work too, but we lived next to the river, and my dad it was on a curve, and my dad would get old junk cars and put them in the riverbank to hold the bank. And he said, well, if you can get them running, you can run them, and then when you're done, we'll put them in the bank. So I learned by doing that,
so pick up junk cars.
pick up junk cars and get them running and run them around the field. But no, we did a lot of mechanical work, a lot of building stuff. My dad showed the gadget show at State Fair, so we made a lot of gadgets
Oh,
for
really?
years. Yeah. So
They always had the mechanical edge on that.
you
then.
have to, yeah. But now you pretty much buy everything.
Right. But you didn't go to school of any kind
No.
for it. Just right out of high school, went right to work in town. And
Went to service and then
Okay.
went to town.
what branch did you serve in?
Army.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if you got how long you were in. Did
6
you-
years.
Oh, were you really?
But my brother and me went in the same time.
Okay.
And it was a Sullivan boys
Yep.
rule. You couldn't go overseas to fight the whole family. You had to
Right.
do something
Right.
else. So my brother got sent over there. I got to go. I went to the National Guard because I couldn't go.
Okay.
But it was right. So it was in 1968, right in there. That's when the riots were up in Iowa City, and
Oh, brother.
Vietnam was going on. So
Really? I did not realize there were riots and things up there. So
Iowa
people
City.
have been misbehaving for years.
yeah. But
So, well, I don't know. I just always growing up, we knew you guys were always very active, involved in the truck pulling, especially transmissions, performance. I didn't know everything you did with pulling because it was kind of before. I wasn't really allowed to get into it too much until I was a teenager, and by then it was starting to die off already. But there's a lot of the names that you talk about. Are just very historic, and
right.
It's probably the reason I try to record these is to get those stories recorded. There's like when you were going in here, and at some point I'll grab a camera here and walk around. Like you reinforced the front axle. Was that because it bent, or you just knew it needed to be
No.
reinforced?
This one was a cast iron
Yes.
out of an old truck, but with no suspension. Yeah, we knew it was going to break or break a wheel off.
So you just
Come
went
down
ahead
hard.
and
So make it. You need the weight up there anyway.
Right,
So,
so you-
well, but
start stacking it in there.
right.
Uh, No, it's just very interesting. The Chevy big block, you ran a 427.
Right.
But you rebuilt the motor. You did everything on that. What carburetors were you running?
None. I ran a blower.
Oh, you ran the blower. Oh, that's
Supercharged.
right. Yeah.
Supercharged.
Yeah,
Now
that's
this,
right.
he redid it with the carburetors, but
Right.
we didn't have carburetors. But
Okay.
I had an injection on it back then.
Okay. Mechanical.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it's hard to believe that all that stuff's out there with no shields, no nothing.
Right.
We did, but
You ever grenade him on a motor and put rods outside?
no, I don't think so.
Really?
No. Must be I wasn't running hard enough.
Well, I don't know. But if you were building them yourself, like were you messing already with like trying to port out heads and
No.
valve springs and camshaft?
We did camshafts and valve springs and bored them. I worked for Lawrence Machine years ago.
Okay.
And we did board them and stuff like that. But just cam and a good steel crank and
then put the
Good
pressure,
aluminum
air and
head.
fuel to it and
Right.
let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. So the aluminum heads, though, would have not been. I mean, those were definitely larger. They had larger
ports.
valves too,
Right,
probably, and
right.
so you moved a lot more air with those.
Didn't need them for the weight, but it's.
Right.
But the-
Right. Just the
But back then,
performance.
you couldn't. There wasn't anything around.
Right. Back wheels on a lot of these. If you were running these size tires, what were you cutting rims and widening them?
Right. Widen them.
Okay.
And,
If you want, I can grab the camera. Let's just
build
walk
more-
around that a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't widen these, but you can see on the inside
right,
that he widened them here.
has like a lip right in
Right.
there.
And you can see a section here that they put in too. You can see the
right
weld.
there, the
Yes.
weld marks.
Right.
You can see
Mhm.
those, yep. And then the hitch setup, you designed all of that, I suppose?
Well, pretty much. It wasn't. And the
Quite
wheelie
like
bars.
that?
It was just like that.
Was
yeah.
it? Okay.
But this, they put a vent on here. I never did that.
Never had
but
a vent?
no.
Okay. And then the seat, that's always interesting to me, just how you guys did that. Just
in between the tires, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're sitting right in there. If people really want to look, I mean, you're that close. There's nothing on the side. There's not much on the back, but it looks like that was all custom built.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to come up front here, you had your transmission, of course, your shifting there, your brakes, and then one for each side. And that's kind of a long
And then
throw.
the rear end, we've doubled the gears in it, so
Oh, okay. Just to strengthen it.
strengthen it.
And you
yeah.
had a steering box like
Right,
this as
yep.
well. So
It's
that
on
would have
an
been similar.
old Corvair.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
And this is the box you were talking about that
Right.
was not strong enough and
Right.
blew apart.
Blew apart,
Yep.
blew the top, and
Yeah. And your throttle was still, would have been like a dead man throttle. It would release
Yeah.
if you let go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that was one rule we had to have
okay.
back then.
Starting to go with some of that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing too, just how it's direct mounted into the frame.
Right.
All the way around, so you got all the vibration.
Well,
And,
now the multimotors, they have a round tube frame,
Right.
and they'll use a half of a circle. I mean,
Yep.
and they'll set it on top of the round frame and then put hose clamps on it.
And just hold it in.
And hold it in.
Right.
That's it.
And then this is the front axle, of course, we were talking about.
Right.
The
And
back was more welded up than the front, and I can show that here. But you just cut them out of a truck.
Right.
And, kind of hard to get it down there, I guess. But
Then
and then you had a water tank, and it was just no radiator, but you just
Right.
circulate the water as it
Right.
went, and then the second tank was the fuel.
and nowadays you don't even run water. So
Right. No, they're injecting a lot of it.
Mhm.
So just going to come on around the other side. You'd made your own weight bracket in the front
Yeah.
as you did it. And
yeah.
so, no, pretty slick setup there.
Well, 7,000 would put a lot of weight up.
So the front end would pick up. Well, you don't have a lot out here. You didn't really mess with, so you didn't really, as far as moving the motor forward and trying to get
Right.
weight, was
Back
that?
then, nobody did it, but if you go back in time, you'd put the motor clear up front.
Right.
And
And that started later on. Then.
right.
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 So,
Yeah.
no, that's very interesting how that all developed.
It is.
It's come a long way, but
Right, and now they flex. The frames flex.
right, they flex a lot actually.
Yes, they do.
Anything else? Any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share that you can think of?
Not really. I'd like to be pulling again, but
Right.
I enjoy going to the pulls, and I go
Yeah.
to pretty much all of them I can.
Yeah. Still involved in racing some?
Stock car a little bit. Since I sold the shop, I don't do much of that anymore.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we go to them and know a lot of people.
Yeah. It's fun to go see
I
them.
wanted to drag yours the other night.
Did you?
Before each fair. I said, I think your suit will fit me.
Yeah, maybe not anymore. I don't know.
We never had any of
It's,
that stuff back then.
right.
So it makes a difference.
It's those things are hot. I tell you what, I
Mm-hmm.
hydrate all day long, and I mean, when I'm finished, I feel like I
Get it
sweat
in.
a gallon of water out. It's they don't breathe for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those safety features that come out of you get something that breaks and hot oil catches fire, and it's,
Right.
there's just a lot of things. The fuel we have can burn pretty quick and hot.
The roll cages came a long ways too.
They really have. There's a lot of technology in those. They've got to be made of certain materials. Depending on like NTPA and those, they've got to pass certain inspections to make sure that they're okay, and so that's not really the same as what it once was either. But no, it's definitely a very different situation than what it was. But well, I was very excited to get you out here on this. I've had multiple people ask about this. I know we talk about some of the names you talked about. You're going to walk away from this and we're probably going to go, I could have said this story and that
Yep, I
story,
could've,
and
yeah.
that's just how it works. The one thing that's interesting is just when I look back at the foundation of this sport, the one thing you talked about a lot that I want people to think about is you talk a lot about your dad. And the influence he had, and your brothers. And I think when I look at tractor pulling, that's one thing I see is there's a lot of families still working together and involved in that, and that's what's important to me.
Well,
There's the young 19-year-old kid out of Texas that just won a big pull here recently,
really?
and he's just getting started, and his parents have been in it for years, and so those are fun to see those things happen.
Well, like Ernie Ropp and Warren, they were,
Right.
Warren took care of the tractor and Ernie drove it, and
And Phil did the books.
yep.
He did a lot of things there.
And Fornash is the family always
Right.
went together, and
Yeah.
it was nice.
So it's just nice. And the thing also that happens, it almost like you got this pulling family as well. The amount of people I've met is just incredible. I get messages and phone calls every day anymore, and it's just a real honor to do that.
I'm glad
So-
somebody's picking this up. That's
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate that. It was frankly by accident completely that it started, but it seems to be something a lot of people are interested in. I don't know how many of the NTPA people you got involved with or knew, but there's Ed Hartz was the first president. He and I've started to visit. So, for those of you
good.
watching this, you can look forward to that coming up. But people like that generation, he was one of the younger ones, and we've lost so many of those folks.
Right.
Even when I sit down with, let's say, like Warren Ropp, Mike Fornash, there's only so much they can share
Right.
because they still got it from a little bit of a distance. And that's the thing. When I sit down with you, you can at least share where you were at in it and kind of what you contributed. And I look at what you did, now we look at like Atlas Transmission Profab,
Yeah.
and they're doing a lot of those things, but you really were doing what they were doing.
Right.
And yet you had to split it with the day job.
Right.
but
Right.
but I hope you made money off the performance as well. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But any closing thoughts on anything you'd like to share on that?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
I'd like to go back a few years and start over doing it
Do
again.
you?
but
So you do miss
I'd love
it?
to. I
Okay.
really do. Yeah.
The out of all the things you did, because you were in car racing and all, is pulling still up there?
Yeah.
Okay. What drove you? Was it the competition?
I don't know
No,
for sure.
just loved
It was
it.
just, you get
Yeah.
on the seat of that tractor, you're in your own world.
Oh,
You don't see anybody,
Yeah.
you go.
How were you nervous when you did that?
For a little while, but then you
Yeah.
just get used to it.
Yeah. The only time I feel nerves is like when I'm sitting in line kind of waiting. But once the helmet goes on, it just kind of goes away. My tunnel vision, I can't really see. And I don't really get nervous at all. I tell people I get pissed off sometimes, but I don't really get nervous at all. And it's, and I know some folks do, but it's a rush. There's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt. It's right.
So do you know what speeds you were hitting at that time on the track? You never tracked any of that?
No, they never tracked them.
So my data logger, I can get the speed, and according to the speed board, I'm usually within half a mile an hour of accurate. So I don't know which one's right and which one's wrong, because we're off of GPS, and they're probably off of actual ground speed, it'd be my guess. But they may be GPS as well, depending on the setup. But I know the ground speed has changed quite a bit even from your area.
Oh yeah.
It's
we're
hitting 30 plus a lot of times, and where I would guess, I think from some of the research I've done, you guys were not hitting the 20s yet at that point. It was usually in the teens, and so. But that's a lot of adrenaline.
I think Farley was almost 40 the other night.
Yes, they did. If they get into the hot rods, those sucker modifieds, gosh, those things are, and they throw dirt like something crazy. That's really something. And a shout out to anybody listening, Farley, Iowa. Brandon and RJ Simon do a tremendous job up there. They're, I think, looking to do 4 of those around the country this next year, I'm seeing. So stay tuned for all of that coming. Sport is alive and strong. So with that, I want to thank Chris Fountain for joining us on Breaking Barriers podcast. Please drop a note in the comments if you have any stories or memories of Chris working on your hot rod or modified truck. Let us know. We'd like to see that on the YouTube channel. There'll be shorts out on our Breaking Barriers Facebook page as well. You can comment and reach out to us there. And if you have anybody else that you would like to see on this show, drop us a note and we will see if we can make that happen. Thanks for watching Breaking Barriers podcast.
Breaking Barriers.